All right, today we're going to conduct a military doctrinal analysis of the operation to breach the Iron Ring, that formidable defense system around Bilbao, between the 11th and 14th of June 1937. Our focus here is going to be squarely on the operational art and the tactical execution that ultimately led to its collapse.
Now, it's important to state right up front that this entire briefing is drawn exclusively from the Bataillaz Guerra Civil project. That means all the maps, the data, and the analysis you're about to see come directly from this source. It's all about ensuring a really rigorous and grounded look at what actually happened.
So let's get our bearings with the strategic situation. What you're looking at here is the Republican order of battle, all arrayed in this defensive perimeter around Bilbao. And that green line, that delineates the Cinturón de Hierro, or the Iron Ring. This was a static, fortified line that was supposed to be the city's salvation.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll assess the defensive posture itself. Then we'll look at the attacker's concept of operations. After that, we'll cover the execution of the assault, the collapse that followed, and we'll wrap it all up with the key doctrinal lessons to be learned.
Okay, let's start with the centerpiece of this whole thing, the Iron Ring. We need to understand its strengths and, more importantly, its critical weaknesses.
On paper, the Republican forces under General Gamir looked pretty substantial. We're talking 5 divisions with a mix of Basque, Asturian, and Santandrino brigades. The command structure you see here was tasked with holding that line. But when you look closer, some significant problems start to appear.
And these flaws were absolutely critical. The defense was entirely linear, with no depth to speak of. Now, what does that mean? It means a single breach couldn't be contained. It would almost certainly lead to the envelopment of the units next to it. On top of that, the troops lacked training and cohesion. They were facing total inferiority in the air, and crucially, political infighting was just gutting any chance of a unified military command.
As the source material dryly puts it, defending a wall of more than 50 kilometers is not a simple mission. And really, that one sentence just underscores the immense challenge. You've got a static defense, and you're up against an attacker who can choose the exact time and place of the main effort. That is a tough spot to be in.
So now let's pivot and look at this from the attacker's perspective. Their whole concept of operations was designed specifically to exploit every single one of those weaknesses we just talked about. The nationalists concentrated their very best forces for the main effort. The VI Navarre division, made up of experienced brigades, was designated as the breaching element. This is a classic military principle in action, the concentration of overwhelming force at the decisive point.
And air power. Air power played an absolutely central role in this plan. The goal wasn't just to support the infantry, it was to achieve decisive effects, both material and moral. You had bombers tasked with systematically neutralizing fortifications, while the fighters maintained total air supremacy and conducted strafing runs.
And this number right here, 110. This number tells you everything you need to know about that aerial superiority. On June 12th, the day of the main assault, 110 aircraft were committed. That's 70 bombers and 40 fighters. Against that, the defenders had, well, virtually no air cover. The result was total, unquestioned dominance of the sky. Okay, so let's move into the execution phase. We've seen the plan. How did it actually translate into action on the 11th and 12th of June?
The operation unfolded over 2 intense days. On June 11th, you have preliminary attacks that seize key terrain, basically shaping the battlefield for what's to come. The Republicans launch a counterattack that night, but it fails. Then, at 0700 hours on the 12th, a devastating 5-hour air and artillery bombardment begins. By 1425 hours, the V Brigade had done it. They'd achieved a deep penetration.
These operational graphics give you a fantastic visual of that 2-day assault. On the left, you can see the limited objectives from the 11th. Then on the right, you see the main effort on the 12th, that concentration of forces just punching right through the line between Urrusti and Gestilemendi.
The result was decisive. The defensive system had completely failed. The Iron Ring was broken. This was the turning point of the entire battle for Bilbao.
So what happens next? We move into the exploitation phase. Once that line was breached, the disintegration of the defense was swift and it was total.
This map shows you the immediate aftermath. The Republican 1st Division, which was holding the breached sector, was, and I'm quoting the source here, practically disarticulated. It's estimated that no fewer than 20 of its battalions were rendered completely combat ineffective. A general panic began to sweep through the ranks.
And if we drill down a little deeper, you can see the detailed composition of that shattered 1st Division. The 17th Basque and 2nd Asturian Brigades, the ones holding the line, right at the point of attack, were the most severely damaged. Their command and control structures, they just ceased to function under the sheer weight of that assault.
The sense of desperation is just palpable in this telegram from President Aguirre on June 12th. It reads, "Situation extremely serious. Enemy has broken the belt, amid our infuriating and agonizing defenselessness." That tells you everything about the collapse in morale, right from the very top.
So, faced with a complete and total collapse, General Gamir made the only logical military decision he had left. He ordered a general retreat to the left bank of the Nervión River. The objective was no longer about defending Bilbao. It was about salvaging whatever was left of his army.
All right, let's pull all this together and distill the key takeaways from a doctrinal perspective. What are the enduring lessons from this entire operation?
When you lay it out like this, the comparison is just stark. Success was built on a modern combined arms doctrine, massed fires, concentration of force, and total air supremacy. Failure, on the other hand, stemmed from this flawed reliance on a static, linear defense, no operational depth, poor command and control, and a complete inability to contest the air or counter the enemy's artillery.
And this map shows you the end result by June 14th. General Gamir is attempting to form a new defensive line, but his forces are shattered. The nationalist divisions are now in their jump-off positions for the final assault on the city itself. The fall of the Iron Ring had well and truly sealed Bilbao's fate.
Which brings us to our concluding doctrinal question, and is one that's just as relevant today as it was in 1937. In modern warfare, can any static, linear defense truly survive without air supremacy and operational depth? I think the fall of the Iron Ring offers a very powerful, very clear answer. For more detail, the complete source material is available at batallasguerracivil.es.